Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about a topic that one of you brought up in a comment section, and I thought this was a great topic to explore and to shed some more light on why this tends to happen so that a lot of you who are struggling to understand can get clarity. This individual have asked me, why is it that sometimes they have a very increased urge or desire or an impulse to really be themselves in their authentic gender. A lot of times it's an impulse and a desire and an urge to perhaps engage in feminizing or masculinizing or expressing yourself in a gender that you are more authentic, in a gender that is much more closer to who you are. And then why is it that other times there is no sense of urgency, there is no sense of impulse, there's no desire at all? So why is it that it tends to really increase and really fly off the charts, and then some other days it's completely non-existent? Well, to some extent, what we're talking about here could be easily classified and called euphoria, opposite of dysphoria. If dysphoria is something that is giving you distress, discomfort in relationship to your body and your gender assigned at birth, euphoria is the opposite of that, which is an incredible sense of comfort, incredible sense of congruency in relationship to your gender versus your gender assigned at birth. So euphoria is going to be an opposite of dysphoria, and the description of this urges, of this desire, impulses, whichever terminology you want to use, is really a way of describing a sense of euphoria, a sense of that feelings, that strong need to embody yourself in your authentic gender and to really be who you are. So why does it? Sometimes it's really there and it's very, very strong. And sometimes it's completely non-existent. And I can see how this is very confusing to a lot of people, because some people think, well, if this is my true authentic gender, wouldn't then that sense of euphoria always be present? Wouldn't that sense of euphoria always be a constant and always be in the forefront of my life? Sadly, that's just really not how these feelings tend to operate. And the reason why that's not how they tend to operate is because there's a lot of factors at play. First of all, euphoria is often in a battle and in contrast to also dysphoria. Just like with dysphoria, it can range and it can fluctuate. Sometimes you can feel mild dysphoria, some other days you can feel an incredibly debilitating dysphoria, and sometimes you may feel almost as though the dysphoria is not there. The same thing with the feeling of euphoria. Now, the reason why euphoria sometimes really, really increases, and why sometimes you have the strong urge to connect to yourself, to connect to authentic gender, is primarily for two main reasons. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons, but these are the two main ones that jump out in terms of my experience. One of them is conscious reason, meaning that you are consciously either allowing yourself or opening up an opportunity to explore your gender, or you're consciously thinking about your gender. In other words, you're doing a self-conscious, cognizant work, maybe you're even reflecting, but you're doing something very consciously in regards to gender. And as a result, that consciousness, that awareness puts you in a position to embody or to do some other things, maybe social elements of transition or exploration things within your gender. And as a result, you will feel euphoria. Because if you do feel dysphoria, the chances are you will also feel euphoria at some point in your experiences too, as you get closer to your gender. Substitute euphoria, because euphoria, honestly, euphoria maybe not even the best word, because euphoria sounds when I think about euphoric feelings, I'm thinking about a very strong emotional intensity. And for some of you, it will feel like a very strong emotional intensity. And sometimes for you, it will be just a feeling good feelings. It will be just feeling good being yourself. So substitute euphoria for feeling good, just feeling good being yourself. So consciously, when we're exploring, when we're doing things that we're self-aware of, that's going to put us in a contrast to dysphoria, and the opposite of that is going to be feeling better about ourselves. So that's one of the reasons why the urge may increase, is because you're actively doing something, you're actively seeking yourself out, you're actively seeking out understanding who you are and understanding your relationship to your gender. Now, the second reason that comes to mind when I think about why this urges, this feeling good, sometimes really, really increases, is unconscious. By unconscious, what I mean is that there's very many elements of who you are that operate subconsciously. That's another word people can use for unconscious, that kind of tend to operate below your level of consciousness, right? And gender is one of them. So unconscious, remember how I always say there's a sense, there's a part of you that is kind of knows your relationship to gender, whether you're conscious or not. Well, that part of you unconsciously will also get triggered by certain things that you come in relationship to or you come in contact with in your conscious life. You won't even know why that is, but suddenly you will get the urge. So for example, perhaps you are dining somewhere out in a restaurant and suddenly, let's say a group of people walks by and you see a person, and suddenly that euphoric feeling gets activated and you get that urge. You're not really sure why that is, but the reason why it's being activated is because your conscious came in a visual contact with something you want. So perhaps you saw a person embracing, or you saw a person who is, another word that I'm looking for, not displaying, but let's use the word embracing the genders that you actually see yourself being. And when you see that person being of the gender, that will activate part of yourself that are also dormant. And when those parts of you are activated, you're going to feel certain feelings. One of those feelings might be a certain sudden urge, sudden desire to perhaps explore further, to perhaps maybe gender bend, or perhaps feminize or masculinize yourself through clothing and try it on. That's another reason why the urge might come on. So these urges or these desires or euphoric fluctuations are very, very common. And anybody who's been through their gender exploration or even through transition can attest that not only do they feel fluctuations in dysphoria, there's also fluctuation in this feeling good feelings, because again, they do go hand in hand. The reason why sometimes you wake up and you're suddenly not feeling any euphoria whatsoever is also very, very common, because there's a lot of things, a lot of elements at play. You're not always thinking about your gender. Sometimes other stressors are at play. Sometimes other things are become forefront of your life. And as a result of other things becoming forefront of your life, you won't be really thinking about things that are much more important to you, to your core identity, because perhaps at that time in your life, those other things are far more important. So this, a lot of times dysphoria as well as euphoria will also tend to go, well, I don't want to say dysphoria goes away, because I think for some people what happens is that it gets to the level of very minimal discomfort where it feels like it has gone away. But I don't think it's necessarily goes away until you actually deal with it. So a lot of times euphoria and dysphoria will get to the point of this decrease, almost as if it's non-existent, is also because other things are stressing you out. You are preoccupied with other things, or perhaps you are avoiding consciously focusing on your gender. When we avoid consciously confronting ourselves, we get ourselves kind of in the sense of denial. And the sense of denial can also put a lid on the feelings of euphoria and put a lid temporarily on the feelings of dysphoria. So for that reason, sometimes you have these urges and sometimes you don't have any urges. For a lot of people, this can be very confusing. The sense of euphoria going up and then euphoria going down, because again, it makes you question your gender. And it's really making you question your identity. I say, ask yourself about your dysphoria. Where's your dysphoria? How you feel in relationship to your dysphoria? Is your dysphoria present? Because chances are, if you're feeling euphoria again, there's going to be an element of dysphoria that tends to coexist side by side. But those things fluctuate. It's very, very common. It's like a roller coaster for a lot of people. Sometimes you can feel euphoria for a continuous period, even for weeks and months, and then suddenly it really tends to decrease and go away. Just like any other feelings we experience as human beings, we're very complex. We're not static. We're very malleable, and we're very susceptible, easily influenced by other forces. We're very easily influenced by environment. We're influenced by other things that come into our space, other things that come into our contact. You may be feeling one thing 1 minute, and then suddenly you get that phone call and you get particular news, and you forgot that you've been thinking about that thing. That's how quickly interchangeable we are. That's why I always say, when you're really stressing out and you're having really, really bad day, sleep in it. There's nothing better than a sleep, because tomorrow chances are you're going to feel differently. So that's hopefully that explains why it fluctuates. For the rest of you, please comment below, let me know how do you experience euphoria? Does your euphoria also fluctuates? Have you experienced these drastic urges going really up and then experiencing them as if they're completely non-existent? What sense did you make of it? But all I can offer is that, again, we are very complex human beings. We experience a lot of things. Our feelings of euphoria, dysphoria, confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, happiness, joy, sadness, anger, frustration is not really meant to be static. It's not meant to be linear. It's not meant to be ongoing. It's meant to be interchangeable, because we are interchangeable as well. We're constantly growing, we're constantly changing. So comment below, let me know, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.